Okay, I got a large screen. You have to put up with me on this one, but the key is here we have to let's work on geometry for a little bit. So I like to have a star part like in my plane shown. People may disagree with this, and I really don't care. I think it's a good way to start. You don't want your parts laying out in no man's land. It can really be muddy, especially if you want to utilize front, top, right side without having to reset it every time you make a part. There's a lot of reasons why. I guess, you could say it's old school, but I've seen parts that live in La La Land, and then you try to orient by the coordinate system, and you just flat out can't. Doesn't make sense. So let's look at geometry. First of all, we want to view sketch relations. You want to turn that on. Well, you can do it. I have it on my heads-up display, but if you go to View, Hide and Show, you can turn it on in here. So you obviously want your dimensions. Those should be on by default. And then you want to view, I like dimension names if I'm going to do configurations. But for now, we want sketch relations down here. Turn it on. So let's click on our plane and then boom. So in the corner here, let's start with lines. There's 3 lines in your options here, but the fact is all these options are right here in your insert line command. So there's as sketched, horizontal, vertical, angle, for construction, infinite length, midpoint line. So in here you've got center line, which is a construction line. Don't know why they say center line. And then midpoint line is just what it is. So the basic line, obviously, you just draw a line. You're done. So go back to the line command. We're going to do the command just to learn it. So you got for construction. So we draw a line. Notice it's center line font. Center line font. It's a construction line. Hey, I want to make that line real. Select it. See your little pop-up box, your little breadcrumb. I can convert that to solid geometry. That's a good trick to keep in mind. So we have midpoint line. Well, remember it's still in here. Midpoint line. What is that? Well, you pick a midpoint. Notice the line stretches from where I first picked the midpoint. So you literally can take that and align it if you want to. And it's going to remain the midpoint. So remember I told you about turning on sketch relations. So now you can see that you have a coincident and midpoint. So you can turn those off. You can delete those things if you want. And now see it, the line turn blue. You can pick it and move it around. So we also deleted a midpoint because the one nice thing about Solidworks is it doesn't like to integrate features. So that midpoint, every line has a start and end point, and it has a midpoint. This is true if you're in AutoCAD or Solidworks, Pro Engineer, Creo, any application. Literally, there's coordinates for each point. That way, it knows exactly where to go. So we've covered all our lines. Let's go ahead and just quickly, we'll delete our lines. Let's move on to the next features, the rectangle. And the same thing here. You have this pull down menu if you want to pick something right away. You can, but it's also in your menu. Never forget that. It's in your menu. So the first rectangle is 2 points, easy. The second is center point and out. So let's say you have something and you wanted that center point to be there. The nice thing about this pick, the center point, you literally can dimension the rectangle, and then let's just say we're gonna dimension this midpoint. So I have the dimension command tied to a key D. So you don't see me clicking dimension. See now that rectangle is fully constrained by its center point. So I just want to show you it's all black. All black means it is constrained. So there you go. So let's go back to rectangle. We're going to go through the menu. Now we have 3-point rectangle, which is kind of neat. Sometimes if you want to draw something at an angle, you can start it like that. See where I got my first point, and I can start it on perpendicular. I didn't mean to do that, but it can work. But see here, your constraint shows you perpendicular. You don't have to guess. You don't have to guess. There's no reason to guess what happened. Now you have the same thing, but this is a little different where you pick, you can change your angle, and now I'm doing half. And then now you can do parallelogram. Same. Similar. Just gives you an option. Notice your parallels are constrained. So none of these rectangles are constrained except for this one up here. It's all black. This line's black and then this line's black. That's because these dimensions are definitely coinciding with it. But notice this up here, this rectangle. The end is blue. That means it's not constrained. It's not constrained. Blue. Black point, not constrained. So you can move it around all you want. So you want to constrain this rectangle in. Now you're not going to be able to move it up. You just be able to move it side to side. So that's, again, that's rectangle. So now, let's just go ahead and clear our board again. Selecting everything, hit delete key. We're still in sketch mode. Now slot. Slot's kind of fun. First one center, didn't give you a diameter. Obviously you can dimension your overall. You can dimension center line. So technically this is constrained. It's not going to change because the dimensions are giving you your length and width. The added dimension should start telling you that it's, do you want to make it driven? Basically it's an over dimension. So it's over dimension. It's a common thing that people do. They'll over dimension things on their drawings because they don't show their dimensions from their sketches. Let's go back to slot again. So here, let's do the second one. So it's a first point, second point, third point. So it gives you kind of center line to end, not end to end. The next one's cool. It's curved. So you can do your first point, second point, then your radius, and then your thickness. And then the fourth option is similar to the last one. So first point, your diameter, and give your arc, and then your dimension. So they're all pretty straightforward. Then you can, if you want, you can hit add dimensions. So let's do that last one again. So you're going to do that, pick your arc, and then there you go, it's dimension. This can bite you in the rear end, and it can make your life easier and all in the same breath, because now you're constrained. You might forget, and you add a dimension to it saying, hey, I want to know the endpoints. So that one's going to work just because of the way it is. Then let's do this. Dimension. See, it knows it's constrained because of that arc length or the angle, which is weird. I don't know why you'd want to dimension it that way. You could. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying in the real world you generally wouldn't do that. So now let's look at circle. Pretty simple. Center line, diameter. Pretty much done. The next one's 3-point. This can be really handy if you're going between 2 points, obviously, and then you want that third point. You want to find where how that moves, or you want to find how it butts into a tangent. You can. You're done. Pretty easy and pretty slick too. Now this one's kind of fun. It's arc. We've kind of done it, played with it, but arc. So the arc is interesting because its main use can be when you're drawing, you have a line and you want to draw an arc tangent to it. So you notice the tangent, it's tangent. But arc also can be used similarly to circle. Let's see, on a center point, and you want to draw your arc. I'm going to do it like that. So, center point, start, stop. Then the last one is a 3-point arc, which can be very handy too. You're going between a couple of places and you need an arc to drop in. Now, I want to show you a trick. Let's go back to this. Let's say you're drawing lines. So when you're drawing your lines, you draw a line. Now, if you hover back over, see the yellow icon by the pencil turns to a concentric circle. So when it does that, that means it goes into a circle mode. See, so I can draw a circle, and I can compound that circle if I want to by hovering back over the end point. Now, yeah, I just kind of messed myself up, but that way you don't have to keep drawing circles. Now, like you have this isn't tangent, this is tangent. Let's see, you didn't want that. Click on the intersect, just hit constrain it to tangent. You're done. It's not hard to do. It can save you a lot of time, too. So that was arc. Now we have our polygon, which is really cool, too, because you can go from a triangle, so 3-sided polygon, right, to, I'm almost going to say infinite. It didn't like 1,000. It didn't like 100 either, so let's just do 55. Why did I do it? I did it yesterday. I guess probably depend on the size of the circle. Let's make it 10. Just see what happens. Because you can tweak the polygon. Well, I should have done that when I started. Anyway, so you get the polygon. Polygon can be nice. You're doing a hex, like you want to do a 6-sided. You can make a bowl head or something like that really quick. Now let's just utilize this while we're here. So now we have the fillet command. So you have fillet, you have the radius of your fillet. This is entities to fillet. So there's a couple ways you can do this. One is you pick the entities. You can do that. Or you actually can select. All the points now will change. Okay, it's a liar. All the points should change. It's making me didn't like the one. So if you go to fillet, there you go. So all of them go. Yes, the glory of Solidworks. Sucks, but tool for the job. Some people like to have the pain of Solidworks. So you have fillet. So let's see. If we go back, let me redo. Sorry. And let's do under fillet. You have chamfer. So let's make this a smaller chamfer. And then select our edges. So there you go. There's your chamfer. Make you do angle and distance, or distance and distance. Now if you're showing your dimensions, angle and distance might be what you really want to do, because that's usually how you show your dimension, is the angle and the distance. Now, currently where I work, it's not like that. It's kind of dumb. But anyway, you get the gist of it. The distance and distance, though, will give you, like this is kind of awkward way of showing 10 thousandths and then a 45 degree. It's not really symmetrical chamfer, but anyway. Now we get to points. So a point is just that. It's a point. It's just something in space you can use a reference to. You can use it to, again, help you in a lot of ways. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably utilize using a line, a construction line, way before I would use a point. The reason is it's hard to see, and if you have someone following up in your design, you've really got to kind of notice that. And then some people will go in and they turn these things off. So if you turn your points off, you'd go crazy trying to find a point. So I try to limit why you use a point. And then finally there's text. So the easiest way to do text is have a curve, have something in there you want to use to reference. It can be, and what I would do is a construction line. And then you select your text, select the line, and then start entering your text. And here it says use document font. So you can uncheck that, change to whatever font you want. So it's going to follow your curve. Now you have control over it. Otherwise you don't have any control. That's another text in Solidworks things. But you can control the height and stuff, but you can double click on the text again. And then when you go to font, you can change your units or points. So if you want it to be 100 thousandths tall, you hit 100 thousandths tall. So you know it should be 100 thousandths from the construction line to the top of the text. So you can control that. You can do different fonts. I'd recommend a font like this, because if you have a stick font and you ever want to engrave it, it won't work because it needs an enclosed contour to engrave. So there you go. That's most of the tools. Nice. So let's go back in our sketch. Let's now work on trim entities. So let's put some lines in here. So when you have a closed contour, I'd have it shaded. You can turn this on, turn it off. Why you would never have it on, I don't know. And remember blue lines. So I'm going to shut my planes off for a second and my axes. Remember, blue lines mean nothing's constrained. You can move it around. You want to tweak something, kind of get the basic shape and then move it around, go ahead. That's what I would recommend doing. So now let's say you want to trim. That's what we're going to focus on, trim. So if you click the down caret, you get trim entities, extend entities. So extend entities is just what it is. See, it's already extending the entity. Yeah. And I hit it again, I can trim. Dude, it's extending. It's really kind of like AutoCAD if you use AutoCAD. Power trim. 95% of the time is power trim. No reason not to. So watch this. So we're going to slide through the entity. See it disappeared? See the red tick? If you go back over the red tick, it'll add that back. So if you're like, oh man, I lost it, don't let off your left mouse button. Retrieve it. You can turn them back on. Because it's making me a liar. There you go. There's your power trim. Now corner is probably my second. You just trim like you would normal. You keep going until you're done. And then trim the closest is the invert of extend. So it's going to pull stuff away that you don't want. I rarely use that. Not that you shouldn't. I'm just saying I rarely use it. Trim away inside. Again, I use power trim. It's just so much faster. Another thing I like to do too, so let's go back and we'll do an extend entities. And you can do, let's go back to trim, power trim, and then keep trimmed entities as construction geometry. See, it turned construction. So now you're able to do it. And you're like, well, when do I ever need that? Well, I can show you. So let's say you have a part. Let's just say it's circular. And then you're going to have a bolt circle. So we want to make this construction because we're going to make a bolt circle. And then you're going to need to have, I need a reference geometry to the outside of this circle just for all intents and purposes. Let's say I build something like this. I think I said bolt circle too long, and then I want this to intersect. I've got to keep it. Or let me think of it. Oh no, yeah, that's it. So let's do this. I'm going to backtrack. So let's turn this back on to solid. I want to make like a figurine. So bear with me for a second. So we're going to do power trim. We're trimming out this inside. Don't need it anymore. I saved it as a construction geometry. It doesn't hurt. And then notice if I'm going to turn it off for a second. Notice when I trim here, this end, see what happens to it? It doesn't know that it needs to be tied to the center line. I want this to be tied to the center line. When I put an angular dimension in here, I don't want to be able to move. Well, okay, it aligned it for me. Yeah, there you go. So, see, it's staying 100, but I'm not aligned. So if you do this, trim entities, keep construction, trim through those. Now if I put a dimension in, it's not moving. You can't move it. Can I move everything? Hold on. I can move everything. I'm moving the size. Let's go ahead and put a radius on here. And we're going to put an offset here. So now when I move this, it moves together. So let's change this angle to 100 degrees. See, I'm still through the center line. You'll knock yourself out trying to do this if you don't. Now what you could do is if you did trim this, if you got rid of this, you could add a line, make it collinear, and then tie it to the center line. But so you save yourself time if you just remember that trick. Trim it as construction. Save you a ton of time. So we're going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to do it extrude. We're going to leave it. So now I want to sketch on this plane. So we get to convert entities now. It can be your friend. So if I see that blue, that surface, when I select it as blue, hit convert entities, makes a whole copy, a whole outline of the part. I'm going to show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the body off. I'm going to hide the body. See that sketch? That's sketch 3. That's the one we just made. So that's the beauty of convert entities. Another option is the silhouette entities, which could be nice to throw something onto like a surface. Like if you have a cylinder and you want to throw a circle to intersect it, you do silhouette. And then there's the intersection curve, actually is when you can intersect between two surfaces. And that's something I can show you later. The offset entities is similar. So you can select the entity you want to offset. Notice I've got it set to select chain over here. on the left. And the yellow is showing me what's offset. Offset is 0.1 inches. So now I was able to create a lot of geometry in a little bit of time. Now you can just go in here and change your offset if you want. So instead of 100 thousandths, make it 0.250. So, and you can get limitations. Notice over here where I'm getting close. I'm going to say close. This segment. Watch what happens. We're at 2.5. Hold on. 0.25. Let's make it 0.75. Now see, it brought it out even further. Let's see what happens when we go a little bigger. Let's go 1 inch. Should be a little tick. Yeah, see now it's moving. This can really bite you in the behind. If it gets to zero length lines, you're gonna have a problem. So let's talk about zero length lines for a second. So let's go ahead and get in a sketch again. And then a lot of times it has to do with curves. So let's say you do something like this. Oh, I got it backwards. I'll check that. So let's just make like we're going to make a pin or something like that. We're going to make these tangent. And then if you move this geometry to not constrained so it's flopping the way it should be, but when you get to zero length, it just gets to an impossible solution. Let me come up with a better schema. So if you have I got you. So you can have geometry like this. And then we're going to come back and we're going to fill it this side over here. Then let's say, just for the fun of it, we want this dimension. We're going to make it round. This is an angle. So notice this is a quarter inch, this is 100 thousandths, this is 60 thousandths, or 600 thousandths. So if we make this 0.25 plus 0.1, because I'm on an angle it works fine, but let's go 0.25, see what happens. See, it's going to crash. If you have a solid, let's say you've already created a solid and you do something like this, you're going to crash. So you got to be wary of that. And a lot of times too, if this segment, I'm just going to dimension it to show you, if this segment becomes zero length between the two tangents, it's going to crash. It doesn't like that. So it's just inherent to CAD. It doesn't, I really don't know of a program that will allow that to come to zero and not give you an error. I think Fusion kind of handles it a little bit, but it's not. You just got to be wary of what you're doing. So let's say you get into this situation where you've got this geometry and you need let's say you want to do a full ring. How do we want to do it? Okay, we want to we want to put another radius in this for whatever reason, just for the sake of argument. So I want to do, let's do a 3-point arc, and we go here, here, and here. And I've already got a solid geometry. Well, how do I get it to not fail? Well, one way is you take this dimension, you go to replace entity, and you say, see, it says replace this entity, which is that line 9. And what I'm going to do with this one, select that. You're done. But this still won't work, so we need to trim it, don't we? Go back to your power trim, 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 trim. It's still not really what you want, right? So we'll do, why not make it tangent? No, I did a bad thing. Anyway, this will work. So there you go, sketching.